Bobby Goldwater is introducing today's lineups, the Pistons and the Knicks.
At guard, 6'3" from McNeese State, number 4, Joe Dumars. At guard, 6'1" from Indiana, number 11, Isaiah Thomas. At forward, 6'8" from Southeast Oklahoma State, number 10, Dennis Rodman. At forward, 6'6" from DePaul, number 23, Mark Aguirre. And at center, 7'1" from Memphis State, number 00, William Bedford. The trainer is Mike Abdenor, the assistant coaches Brendan Sewer and Brendan Malone, and the Pistons head coach, Chuck Daly. On the injured list for Detroit is Bob McCann. And now, please welcome your New York Knicks. At guard, 6'3" from St. John's, number 13, Mark Jackson. At guard, 6'6" from Tennessee Chattanooga, number 21, Gerald Wilkins. At forward, 6'8" from Wichita State, number 32, Xavier Daniel. At forward, 6'9" from Virginia Union, number 34, Charles Oakley. And at center, 7 feet from Georgetown, number 33, Patrick Ewing. The head trainer is Mike Saunders. The assistant trainer is Tim Walsh. The assistant coaches are Dick Carter, Paul Silas, and Jeff Van Gundy. And the head coach for the Knicks is Pat Riley.
Last time the Knicks saw the Detroit Pistons, Chuck Daly gave them a different look. No John Sally, no Bill Lambier. After a rocky start with their new lineup, the Pistons have settled down to win 2 in a row, consecutive wins this week over Atlanta. I asked Chuck Daly to summarize the effect of the new lineup.
Well, I think it squares up our rotation a little bit. We were struggling with rotation. I couldn't get the offense and the defense in there. I felt like we didn't have enough balance on the floor. So we made the adjustment, and it's been a little bit better. I feel a little bit more secure in the direction we're heading.
But there is no doubt that offense is the biggest problem.
We have a serious offensive problem. When you can't score, my old friend Jack McMahon, when you can't score 100 in this league, you've got a problem.
So far this season, the Pistons have been averaging 98.2. The Knicks at just under 101 points. Sometimes that 3-point difference can mean a lot in a season, John.
Well, you look at the average differential between scoring between teams and their opponents, and 3 points looms as a very big number. After a 48-minute game, it seems to be very close every time.
Des Kersey, Ronnie Nunn, Mike Callahan, the officials assigned by the NBA this afternoon. And the Pistons' Dennis Rodman grabs the tip, deflected by William Bedford, who has not been Mr. Offense, nor has he really ever been in his NBA career. He'll be in the middle against Ewing. That's Bedford out high. Isaiah Thomas picked up by Mark Jackson. Pat Riley's really been singing the defensive praises of Mark this season. First rebound of the game, grabbed by the Knicks point guard.
This will be a measure of the Knicks' ability to be tough continuously, because I would think the Pistons will be at their intimidating best. They had 2 good ones against the Hawks. They want to establish something. And, of course, on that nice lead pass to Ewing, if that continues, Bedford will be out. He's not playing all that much. I think, Al, this has been more of a cosmetic move for this team to try and shake them up, to put Lambier on the bench.
I mean, Lambier's still getting his 27, 28, 30 minutes a game, and he's still very much involved.
Now,
McDaniel called on the foul.
When the Pistons took off on the Knicks last week, early in the game, it was really because of Aguirre, who's a very tough guy. McDaniel's trying to be physical with him right away, and he was called for the foul.
Joe Dumars, the quick release and the assist will go to Isaiah Thomas.
Very tough shot. Dumars was under pressure.
Knicks clear it out for Patrick Ewing. He works on Bedford. Off balance one-hander. Rebound almost saved by Oakley. Dumars picked up by Wilkins. It is Oakley guarding Dennis Rodman. And Xavier McDaniel on Mark Aguirre. 2-2 in the early going this afternoon in front of a big crowd at the Garden. William Bedford is all net from 15. Wilkins coming off his 28-point performance on Tuesday against the Heat. McDaniel from downtown. So far this season, he has one of the best percentages in the NBA from that distance, but he's 0 for 1 today.
Well, he's second in the NBA right now, because he just dropped to about 5th on that miss.
Yeah, you fall hard and quick.
That is the one area where he has been excellent. He is struggling defensively and offensively.
He has admitted that.
Yes.
Oakley in for the rebound, and he is fouled as he comes down with the ball. Dennis Rodman. His first personal foul. With 10-10 to go in the first. The Knicks bringing up the floor. Down 4-2. Ewing, very active early.
Well, the Knicks made it clear they were going to go to Patrick early. Bedford just can't bother him.
Isaiah Thomas has been piling up the points in the last stretch of games. The Pistons need the offense, and he gave it to him there.
Yes, he's been averaging 25 over the last half dozen games.
Ewing tips the McDaniel miss.
Boy, you don't see Patrick tip one-handed very often.
Thomas slowly approaches the defense of Jackson. Wilkins staying with Dumars to the baseline. Rebound kept alive by one of the best in the game, Dennis Rodman. And a three-pointer for Aguirre. It is 9-4 Detroit.
I think we're safe in saying, Al, that Rodman is the best offensive rebounder right now. He has been averaging over 6 a game of late, which is a remarkable number.
Ewing in again on Bedford. That is Patrick's 6th point. And early on, he has taken 5 shots and made 3.
Well, if that's his 6th point, then it's Patrick 6, the Pistons 9.
It's not spreading it around very well, is it? Aguirre backing in on McDaniel. Both teams setting up a lot of isolations in the early part of this game. Here's Wilkins. And he goes long distance.
Speaking of the word isolation, that's what came out of that win against by the Knicks over Miami the other night. The fact that Pat Riley recognized Gerald Wilkins' request to be isolated and use his one-on-one skills. Both people were happy.
William Bedford, almost an air ball. Knicks on a 6-0 run, looking to make it 8. Wilkins with a great play, self-tip. Gotta love that. The sense of mind to not grab the ball, which is such an instinct. And he slithers in for 2. Knicks enjoy the lead at 10-9. And a whistle inside. It'll be against the Knicks. Patrick Ewing called for the foul, his first.
Charles Oakley with the long pass almost intercepted. Gerald felt the defense and tipped it around, and you can see how beautifully done that was by Gerald Wilkins.
So quickly to do that and then get Mark Aguirre in the air as well. Isaiah Thomas connects. Pistons have the lead once again, 11-10.
Early signs of very good shooting by the Pistons in the backcourt. Thomas and Dumars have struck from long range.
Ewing double team. The Knicks quickly try to reverse the floor. Once again, they clear it out and go in for Patrick. Well, the Knicks are going to him, and Patrick's got the answer so far for the Knicks offense. And the Pistons just throw it out of bounds. Well, there's a play that sort of indicates the way their season has been going. And Chuck Daly quickly rose to his feet and sends in Bill Laimbeer,
who's greeted suitably by the Knicks fans. The chorus of boos.
John accurately predicting the quick yankola for William Bedford, and he sits after playing under 5 minutes. Now the Knicks return the favor with a turnover. Knicks off to a 60% start. Pistons at 45.
What a crazy shot. I was all ready to jump all over him for taking that shot. And the guy makes it. The greatness of Isaiah Thomas is he defies the rules sometimes of sound basketball with his one-on-one play because he makes shots like that.
Thomas staying.
Boy, he pushed Mark Jackson way out of position with his good defensive movement.
And a whistle. This will be on. I believe it's That's on Dennis Rodman. Wait for the official call. Buzzer stops play. We're in the first quarter and a tight one.
Friday in Detroit, Mark Jackson got his season high with assists with 13. Here he finds Patrick Ewing, who dances by Bill Laimbeer for a slam dunk. Mark is on his game when he's against the best, and Dumars and Isaiah represent the best, although this time he went wild into the stands and upset somebody's popcorn.
4 assists, and Mark now has twice the total of assists than any other Knick, with 107 on the season. Volleyball inside. Sally wins it. Through his goggles, he sees the hoop clearly. 2018 Detroit.
Nice effort by John Sally, who has not been scoring enough for the Pistons. Not that he has to get 20 a game, but he's got to do more than he's been doing. John Sally this year is only averaging a shade under 9 a game.
Wilkins looks inside for Ewing. As he falls down, he banks it in.
Like that move. Very deceptive with no dribble.
A couple of new things Patrick has shown in the game so far. Some tip work under the hoop, and that little lean in off the glass, and a foul. Oakley slapping the hand of Isaiah Thomas.
You know what's great about that play, though, how quickly Oakley got over to help out. And he didn't let Isaiah get in close enough for a layup. He was reacting so quickly. Jackson getting picked off by John Sally, and immediately Oakley reacted.
Thomas, an 85% free throw shooter, cans the first. It is 21-20 Detroit with 3:34 to go in the first.
I would think Isaiah Thomas has assumed the leadership role more than ever for this team now. He is scoring a lot. This is the problem the team has, so he showed his willingness to shoot the ball a lot, but in so doing, he's giving them the leadership that he's capable of.
McDaniel. Followed by Oakley, but Thomas squeezes inside to pull the rebound down, and McDaniel and Oakley make him work to bring it up the floor.
How about how he handles
He sees
that ball?
Sally flips behind Laimbeer. He drops it in. First offensive impact for Bill Laimbeer. There is no more James Edwards in the middle for the Pistons, and there is no more Vinnie Johnson, who used to, at least the games I remember, John, really do it to the Knicks. Ewing, all net, and he is enjoying himself this afternoon so far with 14 points to lead everybody. John Starks will hear some cheers as he takes his warm-up off at the scorer's table. Sally pops out. Ewing stays with him. Sally, good look for Dumars.
Gerald let him get away. Lost track of his man.
3-point lead for Detroit. Their record at 7-8. Knicks at 8-5. Ewing. Oakley stepped on the line. It was almost a great save. I think he had a strap from a camera bag wrapped up in his foot. Gerald Wilkins is the first substitution for Pat Riley's Knicks. And John Starks comes in. And the infusion of energy, defense, and offense that Starks has provided for the Knicks has been remarkable.
The Pistons version of John Starks is out there in the form of Orlando Woolridge, who checked in as well.
Woolridge, who suffered through most of last season with a detached retina, that was a surprising hire and acquisition by this Pistons team. What do you think, John?
Well, the Jack McCloskey-led Pistons are not afraid to make moves, and they need scoring, and he and Chuck Daly certainly recognize that, and that's exactly what Woolridge is, Al. He is a scorer. I mean, how about a guy averaging 25 a game as he did for Denver being traded? I mean, that's got to be a first, I think. A 25 a game scorer.
Didn't everybody average 25 a game with Denver?
They tried, but Orlando did it.
Dumars drops it in. It's 27-22 Detroit. Starks struggles to handle the pass, but does. McDaniel, Jackson, Oakley's open, and finds Ewing wide open. Find the open man. Oakley the assist. Ewing now with 16 points.
The key thing is the ball movement is so good that Ewing and Oakley both had plenty of time to make decisions. They were in the right spots.
John Sally drops it in, 29-24. McDaniel on the run.
That gives the Pistons a nice lift when Sally hits those jumpers.
Ewing. And Sally just can't stay with him. No, John, the Knicks are trying to force the tempo. Now some jawing between Orlando Woolridge and Patrick Ewing.
It's Lambier and Ewing. Ewing was fouled by Sally, but was angered by Wells.
So I guess what I saw was Woolridge being peacemaker.
Sally going in, fouling him from behind, and then double fouled by Lambier. That was a move by Lambier, though. You know, what was he going to accomplish? There's no way he was going to block Ewing. It was like an extra annoying foul. You know, let me hit him anyway, you know. Jess Kersey went over to Ewing to pull him down. And here's Ewing on his man. He's got Sally. And a little extra swat. It appeared that Ewing felt the presence of Lambier after he was fouled by...
I mean, Sally got 2 fouls.
Sally. And I think it's just the annoying quality of Bill Lambier that people are super sensitive to these days.
Patrick is off to what could be a monster night. 18 points, 3 rebounds. Knicks trail by 3 with 75 seconds to go in the quarter. John Sally is sparking the Pistons off the bench.
He powered over Ewing on that play. Patrick just backed right up on that.
Anthony Mason in for New York. He is being guarded by Lambier. McDaniel guarded by Orlando Woolridge. 1 minute even to go as the clock ticks down in the opening act here at the Garden, and McDaniel for the turnaround. Knicks down by 3. Isaiah Thomas picked up by Jackson once again. Lambier pops out way off, and he'll hear it.
Oh, they love to get on him.
He's been averaging 30 minutes a game and not many shots like that.
See, that shot was uncharacteristic because he shoots much better when he's flat. Flat-footed, that is, and he was moving off a dribble. That's not his shot.
At the other end, Lambier right in the middle of blocking Anthony Mason's shot. It goes out of bounds, and the Knicks are caught. What was this?
Offensive foul before the inbounds pass.
Well, the foul gives the Pistons the ball with 30 seconds to go. Pat Riley wants an explanation. I think the foul was on John Starks. Patrick Ewing, 67%. The rest of the guys in white, just over 40.
Isaiah is giving Mark Jackson a lesson on don't shove me.
Wow, what a pass! And what a block. A bullet from Isaiah Thomas, one-handed, right on the mark. McDaniel rejected Woolridge, but is called for the foul.
The high pick by Lambier got Isaiah loose, and Isaiah with the left hand, one-handed bullet pass to Orlando Woolridge, right on target.
So Orlando Woolridge steps to the free throw line. And drops the first. Detroit with 2 players on their roster who show how far back you must come to prove yourself and get rid of the things that dog you in the past. 2 players rehabbing from past drug use, and Orlando Woolridge and William Bedford. Ten seconds to go for the Knicks. This is Anthony Mason. And at the 2.5-second mark, Ewing drops it in, and the quick counterattack by Detroit.
That was Lambier. What a great pass by him.
4 points in the last 2.5 seconds. An entertaining first quarter at the Garden. 35-30, Detroit in front.
Isaiah Thomas one-on-one with Mark Jackson. Don't touch me, don't touch me. That's Isaiah's message. Mark got picked off a little bit by Lambier, and the bullet pass from Thomas to Woolridge, resulting in that foul opportunity for the Pistons.
And so we begin the second quarter. Isaiah Thomas with 7 points and one of 7 different Pistons to score. Only 4 Knicks have put a number on the board. Patrick Ewing leading the way with 20. Good defense by Sally. He deflected that shot. numbers of shooting in the first quarter. Very, very close.
Pistons have been complaining about their non-scoring, and after the first quarter, they show they're on their way to 140 points a game. So the Knicks have to dig in and shut down the Pistons, who have come out here today with a very earnest effort, and they're getting good results.
Greg Anthony replaces Mark Jackson, and as you can see, Kiki Vanderway gives Xavier McDaniel a rest. He has 3 quick fouls now. He committed the crime just a moment ago on Orlando Woolridge, who, John, has to be one of the best conditioned athletes in this game. He works so hard at it. I know it goes down to what he eats and certainly what he doesn't eat. Very committed to that.
I remember asking his then coach, one of his many stops, Kevin Lockery, about this Body Beautiful some years ago. And he said that it was mostly cosmetic. I mean, he looks like a very super strong guy. He's got great bicep development. Kevin felt it was more cosmetic than how it actually serves him on the court.
So it's supposed to look good, and it does.
It does, it's right.
Outwardly, he looks great. Vanderway, caught shot, then goes Mason. Greg Anthony, stutter step, goes inside, followed by Mason. He's rejected. Vanderway follows. He lost it off his fingertips, and they'll call a foul. It will be a loose ball foul on the Knicks. What a sequence. Anthony Mason's ball.
I'm interested in Mason and Lambier.
Oh, that has potential.
Yeah, well, Mason is a very quiet guy. He just gives off strength. Lambier is more volatile, but that time Mason committed the offensive foul.
John Sally, followed by Woolridge.
No box out.
And the Pistons are pushing this one further open. 39-30 now, enjoying their biggest lead with 10:40 to go in the half. Greg Anthony guarded by Thomas.
That's a rush shot. Second time in a row now Anthony has pushed the offensive shot.
And when he's not shooting well, that's even worse. Woolridge gets the follow. Thomas spins on Anthony. Woolridge guarded by Mason. Sally with Ewing, Vanderway with Lambier, and Darrell Walker is guarded by Starks. Ewing slaps it off the glass, and it will be goaltending.
Isaiah Thomas is truly running things. That was a bullet pass on target by him. Thomas with the ball, finds Lambier. You can see that pass. The Knicks are being forced to become better defenders before their man gets the ball. This is the challenge of good defense.
A lot for the Knicks to talk over, and so they are, as are the Pistons, with 10:11 to go in the second. Knicks down by 11. This program is authorized under rights by Madison Square Garden Productions Incorporated, solely for the entertainment of our audience, and any publication, rebroadcast, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this event without the express written consent of Madison Square Garden Productions Incorporated is prohibited. A great afternoon crowd here at the Garden. A lot of people in Manhattan today. 34th Street absolutely choked with shoppers. What recession.
Mason just threw out a physical response to Lambier.
See, his body is not cosmetic. His is real. And a block on Ewing's drive, and he was fouled in the process. So Sally. Second foul. So Patrick Ewing will step to the line.
Chuck Daly has to be very happy with what he is seeing. His team is piling up points at a rate far greater than they have this season. Now, the Knicks have looked good. They have been responding well. They're hustling. They're working hard. But the Pistons are getting away from them, so they have to be better defensively.
One of the other things that has really frustrated the Knicks is that they've pushed the ball up the floor and pushed it up, yet the Pistons have been getting back as well as any team that I can remember, and that has really shut down the exclamation point of the fast break that the Knicks have tried to establish.
Isaiah is controlling the offense for Detroit.
And he has the basketball right now, guarded by Greg Anthony. Lambier spins on Vanderway, and they're all falling now for Detroit. 43-32. The Knicks, perfect at home, will now have to come back at home if they'll win here today. And a major collision in the lane. And Ewing is hot.
Ewing had nothing to do with it. That's why.
John Sally is hurt.
Beer and Sally collided, and Ewing got the foul. Beer seemed to, as he does, flop. The word flopper originated with Beer. Touch him lightly and he goes flying. But he went flying on his own man, ironically enough. Take another look at this now. Sally was hit by Beer, who went flying for no reason. I mean, Beer's 6'11", 930 pounds, and he goes flying.
Patrick Ewing, frustrated,
and he got away with it again.
Having known what we just saw, barked out some complaints and got a technical foul.
See, you can see all of a sudden, watch Beer go flying. Looked like a good shove, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, John.
But not enough to knock him down like that.
And John Sally is the ultimate victim here. And with the help of his teammates, John Sally limps off the Madison Square Garden floor. Ironically, a victim of the kind of game the Pistons have become known for, largely as a result of the play of Bill Laimbeer.
There's a sad irony, Al, to this, because Laimbeer, I mean, there's a better angle on that shot. I mean, can you believe the guy falling down like that? And the sadness, as Ewing reflects his frustration at that big guy falling like he's a little paper doll. The sadness is he hurt his own teammate with that act.
And now, as a result of the technical foul, a charge to Patrick Ewing for his complaints, Joe Dumars gives the Pistons a 12-point lead, 44-32. What hurts the Pistons is that John Sally off the bench had been doing a great job, scored 6, and he's been building this Piston lead, which is now 12, their biggest. Nick's Dr. Scott there in the tweed jacket, checking in with Richie Abdenauer, the Pistons trainer. Mike Abdenauer. Gerald Walker, an off-season acquisition by Detroit, guarded by Greg Anthony, spins away from him. And a whistle by Jess Kersey. And he wants to have a conference at midcourt with the other officials. John Sally under his own power, but definitely limping noticeably.
I would say he's going to have a lot of ice on his knee in a second.
Let's say he'd have a trip possibly out of the Garden for another look at that later on today. But you never know.
Sometimes players can shake that off if there isn't real damage.
Now, Pat Riley and Chuck Daly approach the midcourt line. Any guesses here, John? I don't think there was a foul, as Darrell Walker brought the ball up, guarded by Greg Anthony.
As it relates to the clock. Somewhat mysterious.
Ladies and gentlemen, the technical foul shot made by Joe Dumars was nullified by the 4 players that have indicated a time of injury will take the foul shot at this time.
Well, here's the deal. Joe Dumars was not in the game when Patrick Ewing was charged with the technical foul. So now we're going to go back in time and redo the technical, and Bill Laimbeer is going to take it.
They inserted him for Isaiah after the call was made, and Dumars went right to the line. Look at what a... he takes the shot, he makes it, fine. Then he's like, hey, what's the big deal? You know, so what? You know, we did it again. That's why people really get upset by Bill Laimbeer, that adolescent, pubescent behavior.
I'm telling you, like it is. Laimbeer wide open and way out.
It's been said a million times.
Starks will come in 1-on-2 and look for help. Then Stutter steps his way from Mason, and now the Knicks will pass it around. Anthony for 3, way off his shooting touch, and not visible today. Knicks down by 12. Kiki, is he on? He's off. Ewing pulls it down.
Mismatch of Wire on Ewing.
Starks gets it to him. Quick defensive help, but a foul as Darrell Walker cut across He hacked Patrick Ewing. First foul on Walker, and Mark Jackson checks back into the game. A tough stint for Greg Anthony. A couple of ill-advised shots, and Mark Jackson is back in. He leads 0 for 3.
Greg was dealing with Isaiah Thomas, who was playing at his best.
Jackson in traffic, followed by Vandeweghe.
Beautifully done by Vandeweghe with the left hand.
The Pistons' lead is 10. Dumars uses the Lambier pick. That creates the mismatch they wanted. Woolridge, a victim of good Anthony Mason defense, and the Knicks come out. Vandeweghe. He's 1 for 3.
He had just the amount of time he wanted to on that shot.
McGuire back to the hoop, guarded by Mason. 7:40 to go. And Mason will be called on the foul. The fans didn't see it that way.
Great offensive players know how to draw the foul. They feel the defense committing themselves, and McGuire knew he wasn't going to make the shot, but he did know he would draw contact.
Gerald Wilkins back in the game. So is Charles Oakley. So it will be Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley, Kiki Vandeweghe, Mark Jackson, and Gerald Wilkins. A small but quick Knick lineup. Quick to a certain degree.
McGuire comes off his season high 27 points the other day. Wednesday, that is, against Atlanta in that win. Back-to-back wins. Tuesday against Atlanta in Atlanta, and then Wednesday in Detroit. Pistons won both.
It's McGuire's 6th game back after missing 3 with a badly sprained ankle. Pistons lead is 12 again. That's their biggest lead of the afternoon. And Mark Jackson looks over his shoulder, and it's Gerald Wilkins popping out. Oakley battling Darrell Walker down low. That's something the Knicks can take advantage of. Here's Oakley on the offensive rebound. Fresh cycle on the 24-second clock for New York.
Knicks aren't getting the good perimeter shooting they've been getting here at home.
Mason. Out for Wilkins. 10 on the 24. Defensive pressure by the Pistons is making the Knicks work. Jackson, 4 on the 24. Wilkins will be off target. Lambier. And the 24-second clock expired, but I think Lambier was fouled as well, or not?
That is the constant. I don't believe so.
No, he was not. So it's just an expiration of the 24-second clock.
Defense is the constant. Pat Riley has been preaching that to his team, but Chuck Daly's been doing it with this team for a long time. And that's what makes them tough. That's what makes them excel year in and year out. Their team defense.
McGuire misses the wide-open jumper. Look how quick the Pistons get back and their defensive posture. Jackson again picked up by Dumars. Good jump out by Lambier, and then getting back on Oakley. Knicks are scrambling to get some open shots. And Oakley double dribbles.
Another victory for the defense.
Well, the Knicks tried running earlier. The Pistons got back and shut them down. Now in their half-court sets, they're finding it very, very difficult.
And Patrick Ewing is on the bench, so their inside target isn't there.
6:15 to go in the first half. Pistons get a good roll on the Garden Rim. Well, their lead is 14 points.
They got an uncontested jump shot. See how difficult it is for the Knicks to get such a shot at this end now.
The Knicks have 4 points in the quarter. Wilkins has some room. Spins short off the glass.
Oh, for 3 now. 3 times down, the defense has been outstanding by Detroit.
Dumars crossover dribble. Jackson.
Pat Riley recognizing the Knicks can't live without Ewing, is ready to put him back in.
Mark McGuire.
No hand in his face.
And things are not looking good for the Knicks, who have prided themselves on defense. So far today, they're being victimized by it. Patrick Ewing, a.k.a. the Knicks offense today, is back in the game. Here's how it's gone.
This is always the danger when a man gets off to a good start like Ewing. The team goes to him exclusively, and then no one else knows how to do it.
Pat Riley desperately looking for someone with a hot hand. That was Brian Quinnett, who was also just inserted. Brad Sellers in the game for the Pistons. Darrell Walker flips it to Aguirre.
Tough matchup now for Gerald Wilkins on Sellers.
And Brian Quinnett's going to have his hands full trying to stay with Mark Aguirre, who hits there. It's 52-34.
I know Gerald Wilkins would like the ball so he can run around Sellers.
Mark Aguirre giving Ewing fits. He goes and successfully to the hoop. 52-36, approaching 4.5 to go in the half. Starks guarding Walker. Now Gerald Wilkins on Aguirre. Quinnett on Orlando Woolridge. Ewing with Brad Sellers. Way off. Aguirre from beyond the three-point stripe. Jackson looks left for Wilkins on the wing. And look how quickly Detroit is there again.
Defensive transition. Excellent by Detroit.
Jackson works on Sellers and banks it in with the foul. Suddenly, it parted.
How long has it been since the Knicks were able to penetrate? And it took a mismatch favoring the Knicks. Sellers is 7-1. He did a decent job of staying with Jackson, but not good enough. But that was the first time there was a mismatch by Detroit. Sellers shouldn't be out guarding a guard. And the guard, Mark Jackson, made most of that.
4 points now for Mark Jackson. It's down by 13, which is a good sign when it was on the verge of being a 20-point lead. Look at how everyone else is doing other than Patrick Ewing. Under 30% for the rest of the Knicks. What a dribbling exhibition, but in the end, Thomas loses it. Knicks up 4-2. Quinnett, bad pass. Wilkins spins. Starks shoots. A sloppy trip up the floor for New York.
Quinnett's got to slap himself in the face to get into it, it seems. You know, he's kind of like foggy a little bit.
And this will be a foul on Mark Jackson. That had the makings of a turning point for the Knicks. An embarrassing moment for Isaiah Thomas, who was just trying to show off. And then a fast break that could have brought the Knicks to within 11. Instead, here's Detroit again. Thomas on Jackson. Sellers wide open.
That's his thing. That's his best asset, shooting that jump shot.
The ex-Buckeye makes it 54-39. 3:15 to go in the first half.
All of Detroit's big people, Bedford, Lane Beer, and now Sellers, are all around 7 feet. They all love to shoot jump shots.
Gerald Wilkins got in there for the drop in the bucket. Hit the rim. Thomas double teamed by Jackson and Ewing, who races back to Sellers. And now an offensive foul. Team defense for the Knicks this time, delivering the offensive foul, and John Starks was a big part of that.
Knicks lucky because Sellers dribbled right around Ewing on his way to the layup. You see Sellers is dancing, no problem, right around. The Knicks were very fortunate on that.
Now reporter Michael Kay tells us that John Sally has had his knee looked at. Strained knee ligaments, will not be back today, but it does not look to be, upon the inspection now, that it'll be something requiring surgery. Knicks hit the offensive boards, and Starks hits the basket.
Nice look by Ewing on the feed.
Knicks down by 13 now. And the fans turn up the volume.
Well, they sense the intensity level has gone up significantly by the Knicks. Quinnett playing physically on Aguirre, which is what Aguirre demands, commits the foul.
Mark Jackson's trying to stir up some emotion out there among the Knicks. Brian Quinnett called on the foul. That will send Mark Aguirre to the line.
Quinnett getting some valuable time from Pat Riley here in the first half.
You know, it's strange, John. You look at the players who have been around for a long time on this team, and you know, to win championships, they say you need experience, but there's that fine line when experience becomes age and age becomes a burden. And I think this team is at that critical moment.
No question about it. As Daly said to us before the game, he said my top 8 players, 4 of them, half of them cannot score. And of course the big age factor has reared its head mostly in the middle with Bill Laimbeer, now 34, coming off the bench.
56-41, a 15-point Piston lead with 2 minutes to go in the half. A lot of screaming out on the floor. Patrick Ewing had the mismatch with Mark Aguirre, and it is Aguirre who is called for the foul.
So he gave the Bill Laimbeer near flop look. Yes, Mark, it was you. Takes it well, though. And that's a guy with good spirit, though, you know. But he tried to go flying in the mismatch. Ewing got a little physical, and however, the officials recognized that it was Aguirre who committed the foul.
Pistons aren't over the limit, so the Knicks just inbound with a fresh 24. That cuts on Sellers, goes right to the hoop, and misses the layup.
Ryan's got to eat some nails, you know. Breakfast.
You know, it's like gracefully walking down the aisle and then tripping as you get to the priest.
He's got such talent.
Wire. Ewing pulls it down, pestered by Darrell Walker from behind. Up the come the Knicks. Starks. Knicks cannot find a hot hand.
How about Jackson on the offensive boards? Beautifully done for Gerald Wilkins. The Pistons are so small, Al, I can't say it loud enough. They are so small out there now. Sellers is 7'1", but he plays like a guy 6'4". The big man is Mark Aguirre. They are small.
Sellers scans the scene over Ewing. Darrell Walker cuts around Wilkins. And Quinnett out for Wilkins. And finally he comes up with the ball. Crowd a little uneasy for what they've seen over the last 8 minutes. Dennis Rodman, who has seen limited minutes, has only 1 rebound in the Pistons' effort. Knicks are out rebounding, but it is the shooting percentage and the intangible, whatever your favorite defensive statistic is, that would be the number that you want to look at for Detroit. 56-43, 36 seconds to go.
Mark Aguirre on Ewing.
Wilkins, and the foul.
Knicks aren't overreacting to the Aguirre-Ewing matchup. Gerald going one-on-one. That's what he wanted to do the moment Sellers came in to guard him. He knew he could work on him one-on-one out of the corner. No way 7'1" Brad Sellers can stay with Gerald Wilkins.
Greg Anthony is into the game, replacing John Starks. Very un-Starks-like impact in the game for John in the first half. And the Knicks draw to within 10. Mark Jackson staying with Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah elbows him away, slaps him away, and then steps off a couple of paces.
This is where we're seeing Jackson's conditioning and weight loss at work. He's harassing Isaiah with confidence.
Way outside is Aguirre for 3. Greg Anthony gets the rebound, looks for Wilkins, who has Quinnett.
Aguirre's hurt meanwhile.
Wilkins with 0.5 to go.
What a dramatic scene on the Knicks bench with Mike Saunders, the Knicks trainer, working on Mark Aguirre, who KO'd himself when his head hit the Knicks bench.
There you see the scene. Mark Aguirre launched the 3 and then sailed into the Knicks bench. Meanwhile, the Knicks in dramatic fashion have drawn to within 8. They trailed by as many as 18 in the second quarter and shaved 10 points off the lead. But this has also been a first half which has cost the Pistons John Sally, a sprained left knee, and now maybe Mark Aguirre, who scored 18 first half points to lead the way. Well, when you look at turning points in the season, you might be able to look back on this year and say there were 2 Knicks games for Detroit that were the difference. The first one was the night they changed their starting lineup, and today rather, the 2 injuries. He just fell back.
An odd fallback by him. He didn't seem to be pushed. Well, it's the shooting arm that seems to be hurt.
Oh, a lot to talk about at the halftime of this one. Pistons 56, Knicks 48. We'll be back courtside in a moment. Back at the Garden, the Knicks and the Pistons moving into the second half. The Pistons leading the Knicks 56-48. It's extending their lead after the first quarter of 5-8, but in between they led by as many as 18. Al Crowell gets from Marv Albert along with John Andres. Wilkins gets Dumars up in the air and is way short, followed by Oakley. And now a whistle. Patrick Ewing and William Bedford were banging pretty good underneath. Now Chuck Daly's talking to Jess Kersey, and all three officials are approaching the scorer's table. Earlier in the game, we had Joe Dumars take a technical foul free throw, and then about, a minute later, John, the officials decided he wasn't eligible to take it. We had to redo it, and now another moment to discuss.
Mysteriously, Dennis Rodman played only 5 minutes of the first half. Most unusual, because he usually plays a lot more than that.
Take a look at some of the numbers from the first half. The Knicks shooting only 43% to the Pistons 51 from the free throw line. The Knicks were perfect, the Pistons near perfect in almost twice as many attempts. Now the Knicks were able to out-rebound the Pistons by a bunch.
The lack of foul shooting by the Knicks, granted they were perfect, but Ewing took 4 of the 6 team foul shots, which means the Knicks were unable to penetrate, unable to create offensive pressure on the Pistons, who were superior defensively in the first half.
Now what was discussed was whether Gerald Wilkins' shot hit the rim. It did not, and so the Knicks have 3 seconds on the 24, but it matters not. They get a quick foul call.
Mark Jackson went to his familiar post-up position with Isaiah Thomas and drew a foul on Isaiah.
Mark Aguirre is in the game starting the second half for the Pistons with a huge bandage on his elbow. Still no official word as to what it was other than a big gash, which we could see. Wilkins fouled on the drive and crashes to the floor.
Gerald seems to have a rubber body, doesn't he? I mean, he can go flying, but he bounces up all the time. Great conditioned athlete.
For the Pistons, it is Dennis Rodman, William Bedford, Mark Aguirre, Joe Dumars, and Isaiah Thomas.
This is where the Knicks want to be. They want to create pressure and draw fouls on the Pistons.
Gerald Wilkins, 5 of 9 from the floor, perfect from the line, and 2 for 2. He has 12. 7 of those coming in the second quarter. Knicks first miss.
Oh, that's Oakley on the back tap.
Another chance for the Knicks, down by 7. As close as they've been in a long, long time. Jackson is fouled as he backed his way in.
The Knicks going to more isolation. Again, that word popped up the other day. Riley asked Gerald Wilkins some time back, what can I do to help you? That's the story that came out of the Miami game the other night. What would you like? And Gerald said, I'd like to be left alone on the court sometimes, isolated, one-on-one with my man. And he exploded after that request was granted by Riley in that Miami game the other night. Now, Gerald did it again today a few times, and Mark Jackson just was isolated a bit. Riley doesn't like that because isolation means 4 guys are standing around. But if you have talented players who can do it, it's nice to mix up the offense like that once in a while.
After hitting their first 7 consecutive, the Knicks missed 2, and now Jackson gets 1 of 2. Now, John, when you're also having trouble getting into the offensive flow and you need to establish respect for your defensive player who's on you, the guy who's on you, that's a good way of doing it if you're a good one-on-one player. Xavier McDaniel holding Dennis Rodman, and man's got to be careful.
Got to get a technical. I can't believe it hasn't been called. Well, I really credit the official for letting him express himself.
I would have called it. But it's been a busy 1 minute here in the third quarter. Jackson getting bullheaded by Thomas. He's doing a curly kneel, trapped up by Oakley. for Dennis Rodman, who jumps and fires out of bounds. And the folks here are loving the frustration of watching Isaiah Thomas not get to the ball.
That's official Mike Callahan I referred to, keeping his cool moments ago when Xavier lost his.
And Pat Riley pulls Xavier McDaniel for Anthony Mason. You saw him there, number 14. Wilkins trying to dance on Dumars. Knicks clear it out. Wilkins drives into traffic. Well, the Knicks cleared it all out to the right side, and Gerald drove right into the crowd, and Anthony Mason was able to pull it down. And Isaiah's called for his third personal.
It's great watching Mason in his quiet way get what he wants done. He came out of that physical confrontation with people, bumped into Sellers on his way to the foul line. Doesn't try and be macho, but he has a tremendous macho effect. But he doesn't wave it. He doesn't wave his strength around.
Mason coming off a career-high 11-rebound game on Tuesday night. Isaiah Thomas has amassed 3 quick fouls here in the second half, and Mason brings the Knicks to within 4.
Well, the Knicks undefeated here at home, 6-0. Did not accept that 16-point lead the Pistons presented in the first half.
Mason helping out. Jackson with the steal. In on Dumars. Drops for Ewing.
That was beautifully executed by Mark Jackson. I thought for sure he would take the shot because it opened up, but he knew Ewing was coming. And you want to reward the big man as Jackson did.
To go into the third quarter in which the Pistons have yet to score. Another steal. It is the Knicks with the defensive twist. Oakley wide open. The Knicks enjoying a 20-4 run. Dumars fouled by Jackson. Dennis Rodman on the inbound for Isaiah Thomas. Dumars cuts down low from an Aguirre pick, and it is the Pistons who are off the mark. Now 2.5 minutes of basketball in the second half. The Pistons yet to score. Knicks down by 2.
You have Thomas lays off Jackson, allowing him the jump shot.
Wilkins pass almost deflected. Now it is Mason driving the baseline and drawing the foul. No basket.
Mason getting a little pushy there, first time with Rodman, but he wisely walks away. Mason going one-on-one. The bump was called before the attempt.
Well, you know what adds to the problems for the Pistons, John? And I'm not, absolving the Knicks of any blame or anything, but you look at those sly smiles. Dennis Rodman just cast one at Anthony Mason, and Isaiah Thomas walked by and mumbled something. And before the second half got started, Lambeer was out there. They've all got that, that look. And, why not? You win 2 championships, you can have that look, but that causes problems.
It's the look of a guy hitting you and then smiling after that.
As if you had nothing to offer.
As if he didn't mean it, but he did mean it, and it's a confusing message that a lot of the individuals on Detroit give. I'll tell you one guy who isn't like that clearly is Joe Dumars. He is all class.
Thomas drives on Jackson, and that's 2 quick fouls on Mark Jackson. I'll tell you, the fouls are piling up. Detroit is already over the limit with 9:15 to go.
Jackson playing ferocious defense these days, dealing with one of the NBA's toughest guards ever in Isaiah Thomas.
Thomas has only gotten 7 points in the game so far. Mark Jackson's doing a good job on him. Pistons miss. Mason is fouled by Mark Aguirre.
See, the officials, Ronnie Nunn in this case, are sensing something here, and they're calling it tighter. That's their message to the players.
I think you're exactly right. Well, it's in so much of a contrast to the second quarter where, with 30 seconds to go, the Knicks were taking the ball out of bounds after a foul.
Knicks defense has picked up after that drastic first quarter for them. Pistons scored 35 points in the first quarter. In the second quarter, the Pistons scored 21.
Mason misses a chance to give the Knicks a lead. The game is tied at 56-56. The Pistons led at one point in this game, 52-34.
Now, what's interesting here also, Al, is that Anthony Mason is getting Xavier McDaniel time now.
Pat Riley liking his muscle. The fans cheer as the Knicks lead the basketball game. Thomas runs into Jackson, is short.
Boy, they called. They have lost their touch.
Wilkins up the floor for Oakley. And Mark Jackson calls to Charles to slow it up.
Last place Charles is looking is for the basket. He doesn't want to shoot.
Now, Oakley's taken only 2 shots and made 1. So he's pulled down 7 rebounds unofficially.
Oh, what a great look. Jackson to Ewing.
And they'll call Oakley on it's on Pat. It is on Oakley trying to reach around.
Oakley with the most harmless foul he's ever committed. We'll take a look now at this deceptive spin move by Ewing. That was beautiful, even though it didn't work.
Almost.
Oakley fell down, and the Detroit player tripped going across his back.
4:51 in the second quarter. The Knicks were down by the deficits we told you. They're now enjoying that huge run. They lead it by 1 with 8:08 to go in the third. Wilkins.
No hand in his face off the pick. Gerald got free, and he had the time.
What a difference a quarter makes in who is enjoying success on the floor in this game. Seven on the 24. Knicks with strong defense. Nothing happening for the Pistons. Woolridge. And the clock expires.
You know what's great about Mason there? He had the hand in, bothering Woolridge. Okay, the hand was in by the waist, but his weight and his balance was back, so that if Woolridge put the ball on the floor, he wasn't out of position. Very tough to get that kind of balance as a defensive player.
Chuck Daly still hasn't gone to his bench, and a foul underneath as Ewing went to the hoop.
Well, Jackson is on Ewing's case offensively, and when Bedford turns his head, Jackson is noting it and throwing those lead passes to Ewing.
Daly now going to the bench. Bill Laimbeer is in. William Bedford is out. Very similar to the bench use by Daly in the first half. Gives Bedford about 5 minutes, and Laimbeer comes in.
Laimbeer does his Mike Tyson warm-up, see, with the neck, you know, head back and forth. In a sense, Bill Laimbeer enters the ring every time he comes on the court.
Hopefully for him, that's where the similarities end. Ewing off the mark. Jackson gets the rebound, but just Kersey caught him pushing off.
If Kersey was a good guy, he would have let Mark get away with that. Laimbeer is so much bigger.
The 4th foul on Jackson.
It's a bad joke, but it looked like the bounce went in favor of Jackson more than whatever push. I mean, that's as light a push. Can you believe that?
You know, you're right.
Right?
You're absolutely right.
But if the officials are going to call it tight, they're certainly being fair.
Well, for all Laimbeer's gotten away with, I mean,
Al, it's a cruel world. I'm sure you've heard that
so
3 or 4 times.
And Laimbeer gets the wave from behind the hoop.
He loves his image, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He just loves it.
He's done an awful lot to create it.
Angelic face, you know, nice guy. That's what he gives off, right?
He's going to really enjoy watching this in the VCR too, John.
I happen to know he won't.
Pistons draw to within 2.
There's always another game around the corner. No one has time.
Greg Anthony outside for Charles Oakley. Back to the former UNLV star for Wilkins. Guarded by Dumars. Ewing on the fall away. That's 29 points for Patrick Ewing.
So tough for a defender to deal with a shot like that from the 7-foot Ewing.
Patrick Ewing with almost half of the total Knick offensive output. Thomas, way short. He's been way off.
Is Dennis Rodman here today?
You know, you'd almost think he wasn't on the floor. He's had no impact either from an offensive rebounding standpoint, minutes played.
Bill Laimbeer won another pushing battle with Ewing. Ewing keeping his cool very clearly, but the foul was on Ewing for pushing, and the officials are continuing to call a very tight game.
Third foul by Ewing in 5 minutes plus whatever's counting now. The Pistons have attempted only 4 shots and missed all 4. Rodman. That's the first hoop for the Pistons in the second half. The Knicks lead is 62-60. Wilkins using the Oakley pick. Ewing draws Laimbeer in the air. Oakley follows. Ewing does the same.
Oh, what an effort! But Oakley played such a role with his presence.
There'll be some tired players when this game is over. There is a lot of bumping and grinding underneath the basket. Crowd chanting defense as Orlando Woolridge comes up short. Pistons 1 for 6 in the quarter. Anthony looks for Mason. He is fouled.
And Mason's going to fall, so he takes Isaiah with him for a ride. No problem.
Well, John, I look back in the second quarter and I think to myself as we watch this fast break,
Mason's strength just decides to take Isaiah unwillingly along for the ride. I think it's very significant now, Mason getting all this time at small forward. And here's a guy who is penciled in as a backup power forward, maybe even in the middle sometimes behind Ewing because of his strength and presence. But he is playing, by definition, the small forward spot here in the third quarter, getting Xavier's time. Tremendous effort on the Knicks on the Knicks end of the quarter a moment ago, with Oakley keeping it alive and Ewing powering in for that finish.
Daniel on the bench with 4 fouls, and on that last play sending Mason to the line, Isaiah Thomas recorded his 4th foul. And so Lance Blanks has entered the game for the Pistons. The Knicks enjoying a 5-point lead. That is a 23-point turnaround as Dumars is clotheslined under the hoop.
I realize, Al, I'm overreacting to this Mason getting Xavier's time because of the 4 fouls, as you point out. That's undoubtedly the reason that he is getting all this time here in the third. Oh, what a shot.
Man. It has been a rough game for the Pistons. Back in the first, and he's still smiling. John Sally knocked out of the game in the first half when Laimbeer fell on his left knee, sprained knee. Mark Aguirre fell into the Knicks bench at the end of the first half. He did something to his elbow. It's heavily bandaged. And Joe Dumars was sent hard to the floor. But, John, I look back in the second quarter and I think, how does this team have trouble scoring 100 points? Their offense seemed to be functioning so well. I think now we're getting a chance to see the Pistons who can't score 100 points. Or at least struggle to do so. Joe Dumars, a very good free throw shooter, makes it 65-62. We've got 5:20 to go in the third quarter. Wilkins dancing on Blanks, out for Anthony. He drives the lane, rejected, saved by Oakley. And saved by Oakley again.
Oh, this is some trio. Ewing, Mason, and Oakley. They are controlling the boards.
Dumars uses the pick of Laimbeer. Now it's Ewing, who can't stay with Laimbeer outside. Lance Blanks, the ex-Texas Longhorn of 2 years ago, drops it for Dumars. Rodman. He is not about to make a mark on this game, not yet. Laimbeer follows. He's way off. That one falls away. Oh, brother. 2-on-1. Dumars back. Ewing. He's fouled.
Let's get the bounce now here. They'll get the bounce. Pistons cannot control it. The bounce goes out to Anthony, who holds the ball. He's got Wilkins across the court, and he sees Ewing coming down at the end. Ewing calling the foul as well as receiving it.
Patrick Ewing, 13 of 19, 5 of 6 from the line. Make it 6 of 7, 7 rebounds, 32 points.
This man has problems, and he knows it. Chuck Daly has seen the momentum that his team owned in the first half, or throughout most of it, go entirely to the Knicks now.
And you know, it won't be long before Chuck Daly hears the question, looking back to the possible NBC offer of a year ago. Chuck, do you think you may have stayed too long? Knicks almost doubling the rebounding number of Detroit. Rodman guarded by Oakley. Lambeer tries to draw Ewing. Pushes him off. Gets the open shot. He is off again. Orlando Woolridge. Double pumps.
Great move by Woolridge. His athleticism showed on that play.
Now a technical foul by Charles Oakley as he went to inbound the ball. Patrick Ewing was called for a technical foul earlier in the game, so it is the second Knick tee of the afternoon.
Funny to see the rookie Anthony calling everybody together for a little lecture.
Speaking of Greg Anthony, I don't know if you saw, some of the things that are going on these days at UNLV, but that program is just doing a self-destruct in a big way. A foul on Joe Dumars as he tripped up Greg Anthony.
Clearly drawn by Anthony, who ran into the path Dumars had established. Anthony created that foul in favor of Anthony. See Anthony run right in front of Dumars. Boy, that's another tight call. I mean, absolutely no negative effect on the play on that call, that foul call. Anthony got the room he needed, and Dumars got out of his way. A little bit of contact, just like you and I just made.
Exactly. We verbal collide.
Nothing bad happened, though.
Well, Greg Anthony gets his first point of the afternoon. The Knicks lead at 71 to 65. That lead is 6. That means there's been a 24-point turnaround from midway through the second quarter on. Lambeer bounces one in.
He gets the ball right. He's really a killer from the perimeter. Lambeer just was all set for that shot, and Rodman gave it up.
Got 3:35 to go in the third quarter. Gerald Wilkins. And there's Dennis Rodman with a sweep off the boards. Dumars in traffic for Woolridge. Lance blanks. Isaiah Thomas on the bench with 4 personal fouls. Dumars tries to get around Mason on the defensive switch, and it will be on the block. Piston ball.
For the Knicks, number 3,
John Starks, and Patrick Ewing is having a contact lens problem. This will happen for him, what, 3, 4, 5 times a year?
17 offensive rebounds a game the last 2 games. Dutch boy in the paint has something very revealing. The Knicks getting major points in the paint against the Pistons. A +19 for the Knicks, who are owning the offensive boards as well. Anthony on that drive. Ewing kept it alive. Oakley participated and finished the play. On the offensive boards, the Knicks have reigned supreme. A lot of pushing with Rodman and Mason before. Mason's got the wider body, but Rodman has the quickness, and he led the Pistons on that breakdown court.
A lot of those rebounding numbers, John, have been pushed up as a result of the small lineups that Chuck Daly's been using for long stretches in this game.
Well, he's got to get scoring. That's what he's trying to figure out, the needs of his team as the game moves along, and now his team's gone cold in the second half. Look at that short, simple jump shot, and Rodman couldn't convert it.
Swarming Knick defense, forcing the Pistons to whisk the ball around the floor. The Knicks lead at 71-67 in a dramatic turnaround third quarter. Gerald Wilkins, guarded by Orlando Woolridge. Mason backing in. It is Anthony who lets go. It is Woolridge on the rebound. Second sellout of the year. Watching this game today, 19,763.
Meanwhile, the Knicks have gone a little flat now offensively.
This will be a foul on Greg Anthony. with 2:19 to go in the third.
Well, when Ewing steps out of this game, it all changes for the Knicks on the offensive end.
You sense it in the crowd right away, too. There's just a different mood all of a sudden here at the Garden. Ewing just 2 points off of his season best, shooting 13 of 19. He has 33 points. Charles Oakley providing another impressive number. I tell you what, everywhere you look on the stat sheet, there's a strange looking number, but this is not strange. Oakley has 12 rebounds. Dumars switches the first.
I think Pat Riley will be content if his team is even at the end of 3, because then he has Ewing to come back in, of course, and a long rested Xavier McDaniel, who's missed the entire third quarter.
Pistons in the third quarter, 3 for 15. That is 20%. John Starks drives the lane, over Lambeer, followed inside. Oakley drops for Mason, and he is successful. 73-69.
Boy, Charles will give that ball up so readily, and that was nicely done by him to Mason.
Lambeer, the back pass from Dumars.
Boy, Lambeer is so reliable, and he gets that jump shot when he doesn't have to do much moving before the shot execution.
That is 13 points for Bill Lambeer.
Gerald keeps moving constantly, and Rodman's right with him.
Oakley, another rebound. He saves it dramatically, but it is Rodman there for Woolridge. Strides ahead, moves for Dumars. Good defense by Starks, who wanted a double dribble. Seven seconds on the 24. Dumars banks it off the glass.
Intentionally, that's the way to use the backboard. Coming to it with the momentum Dumars had, the backboard becomes your friend.
15 points for Dumars, and with 50 seconds to go in the third, the game is tied at 73. Starks guarded by Lance Blanks, who's been thrust into many minutes here. Foul trouble for Thomas. Aguirre is hurting from his first half crash on the Knicks bench. 2 on the 24. Mason for Wilkins, and it's too late. One pass too many. 35.2 to go in the third. Mark Aguirre on the Pistons bench made a valiant effort in the third, but has not scored. He started the period, but has had no impact on the game at all. Ten on the 24, and Rodman is wide open underneath. Pistons lead it by 2. Well, the Pistons have absorbed an awful lot in this third quarter. But as the seconds tick down, they've been hanging on, and you have to admire the way they have grabbed the lead back here with only 7 seconds to go.
The Knicks have gone flat the last 4 or 5 minutes offensively.
John Starks, finger roll, will tie it up with 1.4. And Woolridge. So the buzzer sounds at the Garden in a third quarter that started off with the Pistons shaking their heads, and now the game is tied again. On we go to the fourth quarter. Dennis Rodman off the mark, and Mason bangs him, but Rodman grabs the rebound. Lance Blanks shoots up one. Tied at 75.
Mason has earned the time, and he is still in there.
Knicks need a few jumpers drained, and Gerald Wilkins starts the run.
That's impressive. Dennis Rodman was right in front of him.
That stops a Pistons run that had reached a 13-6 level, so the Pistons have scored 13 of the last 21 points. Blanks drives, drops it out for Woolridge. Quickly double team. Thomas for 2. Actually stepped over the line just by an inch or 2, and it was enough to make it a 2-point and not a 3.
Greg Anthony has been unable to bother Thomas.
Ewing bounces off Lambeer. Doesn't get the roll, and Lambeer gets the rebound. 77 all with 10:45 to go. There's Thomas on the low dribble again, and he fires one that's too hot for Blanks to handle, but deflected by, I think, Anthony Mason. Pistons ball. Twice now we've seen the nitro-fueled pass of Isaiah Thomas. 2 of those in the game. Woolridge and the foul.
Big basket.
It is 10 points for Orlando Woolridge with the potential for 11.
Woolridge goes away from banging and strength plays with his good jumping ability. He likes to get away from people who shoot that shot. He does it so well.
Woolridge with 11 points and the Pistons with a 3-point lead. Greg Anthony guarded by Thomas. Ewing with Lambier. Blanks with Starks. Wilkins with Rodman. Woolridge on Ewing.
What a fake by Ewing. Beautifully done.
That ties Patrick Ewing's season best. He has 35 points with 10:14 to go in the fourth. The Knicks back to within 1. Lambier on the switch guarded by Wilkins. That's put Mason on Woolridge. He is off the mark and 2 for 7 from the floor. The swipe by Blanks for the foul.
Mason pressured Woolridge beautifully. That's the definition of tough defense, pressuring the shooter.
The facial expressions of Chuck Daly this afternoon have been so telling. Every time I look over, he's got his face in his hands as if to say, what's happening?
Losing hurts when you're used to winning, as Chuck Daly has been for 8 straight years. This team has been in the playoffs. 2 championships, 1 near championship.
Ewing on Woolridge. And fouled as he launched it up.
The matchups of the Pistons on Ewing are unfavorable at every turn. One guy, John Sally, who got hurt, I think was bothering Ewing the most because he's up there in size with him and he has Ewing's tight mobility. Everybody, everywhere else, the matchup is not good for Detroit.
Best offensive output of the season for Ewing, 36 points on 14 of 21 shooting from the floor. The rest of the Knicks might want to think about practice tomorrow. Gives Patrick Ewing 37 points. The Knicks only have 81. Blanks for Thomas. Isaiah's had a bad game. He's been running a great show, but his shots haven't been dropping. He's 4 for 10, 9 points.
Seems like he's taking 20 shots.
He really does, too. Yeah, you're right. Ewing is short. Rodman has really come to life in the second half on the boards. Good steal by Starks, and Ewing saves it. Up the floor come the Knicks with 2 Pistons back. Starks. Oh, that's nerve. That is confidence. It is a Knick 3-point lead. That's a moving pick by Lambier. And they're going to call it. He set the block and just kept on moving with the flow of the ball.
Oh, we have another look at it. Maybe the fact, too, that he used his arms a little bit on that pick.
That could have been involved, too. First foul on Lambier. Knicks lead it by 3. 8:35 to go. Wilkins guarded by Rodman. There's a Mason pick to use. Starks. And he is heating up. No basket. Offensive foul. No basket. Oh, wait a minute. A loose ball foul. They're going to score the hoop. The foul was on Mason.
Mason's toughness has made this man stay with him. Pat Riley is staying with Mason. Xavier McDaniel has not played in the second half.
Rodman up the floor. From behind came Starks. That forced Rodman to a bad shot. Ewing's got the loose ball. It is a 5-point Knick lead.
Well, Ewing is all over the court. He is all over the court.
He has been enormous today. I mean, the point total is obvious, but beyond that.
And Ewing had great position. Anthony hoisted that long jump shot.
I'll tell you, Greg's 0 for 6. And it drops. Isaiah Thomas with the foul.
Greg Anthony shooting 35% for the season coming in today. Is having trouble with his touch. But Pat Riley is giving him plenty of time. Isaiah Thomas so difficult to handle when he goes into that spin. One of the greatest.
Thomas with the high arcing free throw makes it 85 to 83. And you know what? Mason is having an Oakley type game in McDaniel's position. He's got 8 rebounds and 5 points. He's only taken 3 shots. He's 1 for 3. Joe Dumars is called for foul number 4. It's the 4th team foul against the Pistons with 7:39 to go in the 4th quarter. 7 rebounds and 8 points for Anthony Mason. He's got the basketball. Ewing double team. Anthony goes to him again. Double teamed again. Flips it for Wilkins. Draws Dumars and drops it in.
Nicely done by Gerald. He made a couple of decisions on that move and finished with the right one because no one was on him.
Gerald Wilkins having himself another fine night. 8 of 15, 18 points. Lambier sets the block. Anthony goes around. 10 on the 24.
Gerald is guarding Lambier. That's interesting, isn't it?
And they clear it out for Dumars. He's forced to go opposite side for Rodman, and he slaps it off the glass. It is 87-85. This one looks like it's destined for a close finish.
Knicks are switching like crazy on defense.
Wilkins, he's had the hot hand. Lambier for 3. Rodman, another offensive rebound, blocked by Ewing, saved from
Mason. What a play by Ewing. And Rodman helps him up.
And the Knicks will settle it down. Ewing okay after flying into press row. Wilkins, spectacular.
What a lift that's going to give his teammates.
Usual 2, Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas at the guards. Lambier with Orlando Woolridge and Dennis Rodman. There you see Pat Riley emerging from his huddle, and he'll send out Greg Anthony, Gerald Wilkins, and John Starks. 3-guard rotation with Oakley and Ewing up front.
Well, when the season began, Pat Riley hummed the theme versatility in players, and that's what he's getting. By definition, Starks and Gerald, 2 number 2 guards, 2 shooting guards, are out there with 1 point guard, Greg Anthony.
Now 3 minutes to go. Isaiah just hit a dramatic fall way to the floor shot in which he was fouled as well. That should be a 4-pointer and is way off. Ewing scowling at the official. Just Kersey under the basket. Anthony guarded by Thomas. Lambier down low. Tug-of-warring with Patrick Ewing. Starks guarded by Dumars. Oakley with Woolridge underneath. Ewing goes to the basket, but is fouled on the approach.
The Pistons are getting a taste of Ewing at his best offensively today. He is hurting them from long range, from short range, and now look at the 7-foot center work out of the corner like a forward, putting the ball on the floor, creating another problem for the defense.
Knicks at one point were 6 for 6. They're now 21 of 26. All those misses coming in the second half. Pistons 96%.
The Knicks have shot 20 foul shots in the second half after 6 in the first half.
Patrick has thrown the stat sheet into disarray. His shooting numbers and point totals have gone into other columns. He's now got 40 with 10 rebounds. 41. Knick lead is 5 with 2.5 minutes to go. Dumars uses the lane beer pick. Quickly jumping out, the team defense of the Knicks forces Rodman to take that shot. It will be Nick Ball.
Funny to think a forward is out of his shooting range if he's 15 feet away from the basket, and that's exactly what happened to Rodman. Out of range at 15 feet.
The Pistons played a remarkable second quarter. But whatever they did well there fell apart in the third. The Knicks turned it up a notch as well. And there'll be a foul against Detroit.
The Knicks' balance has been so changed in the second half, with Ewing dominating the offense with 24 points in the first half. He is close to that now, but the other members of his team have really stepped up and become participants in the offense.
Orlando Woolridge to the line. He has had an 11-point afternoon. By the way, Patrick Ewing for the 22nd time going over the 40-point mark. John, you know, you make a good point. Without saying anything, you point at the stat sheet and look at the second quarter. You see, well, the Pistons, what did they do? They only outscored the Knicks by 13, but it was in the second where they led by 18, and then things started to turn near the last few minutes of that quarter when the Knicks got back and made it an 8-point Pistons lead at the half. But I mean, their offense was working. The defense turned the tempo of the game around. That was back in the second quarter, and things are different now. 97-93. We've just slid under the 2-minute mark. Anthony 1 for 8. Didn't think much about shooting there, and deflected by one of the Pistons. It will be Nick Ball.
Legal defense called also against the Pistons.
And Mark Jackson and Xavier McDaniels inappearance, or lack of an appearance in the second half, will be a question mark. Knicks have a 4-point lead, make it 6. Patrick Ewing expanding on his awesome afternoon.
Again, there's no one to match up for him again on Detroit. Lambeer is not the one.
1:35 to go. Knicks enjoying a 6-point advantage, trying to hold their 6th consecutive opponent under 100 points and win their 7th straight at home.
Isn't that interesting? Starks was matched up with Lambeer. Detroit went right to the mismatch, and Lambeer went to the jump shot, and Ewing arrived in time.
The block shot gives the chance for the Knicks to put it away.
Another $100 to the Boys Club of New York every time Ewing gets a block. That's matched also by Voigt.
Lambeer pulls down the Wilkins miss. Pistons running. And Woolridge will get the foul off the layup. With 1:01 to go.
Defensive rebound by Lambeer. That's where he's at his best on the defensive boards, and that's where Orlando Woolridge is at his best on the end of a fast break.
6 for 7 from the line. He's got 14 points. And now 15. It is a 99-96 Knick lead with a minute left. Pistons keep it interesting. Anthony dancing with Isaiah Thomas right there. They're a duet. Wilkins looking inside for Ewing. He's had a 43-point afternoon. It scoots out of bounds off the fingertips of Woolridge. Nick Ball.
Ewing took a chance of all time with that cross-court pass. The basket got in the way, but the Knicks got lucky.
Timeout on the floor with 41.7 to go. The Knicks lead is 3 here at the Garden. 41.7 seconds to go at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks coming back from an 18-point second quarter deficit, leading right now 99-96. Here's the timeout story. Knicks with 1-1, Pistons with 2-1. The Knicks trying to win their 7th straight here at the Garden without losing, and the Pistons trying to break a 4-game losing streak to the Knicks.
Well, the mismatch, Starks tried on the steal, but Ewing came over and plugged that hole. The epitome of team defense on that play. Good team defense. Ewing tried a crazy cross-court pass. Went out of bounds off Detroit.
Now, you can say what you want about Pat Riley's moves today. Bottom line is Knicks are in a position to win a game in which it looked as though they were going to be blown out if you go back to the first half. But the questions are Xavier McDaniel and Mark Jackson, both with 4 fouls. That took them out of the game at that point, but then they never got involved again. Greg Anthony, who missed his first 6 shots and is now shooting 1 for 8, has quarterbacked the team down the stretch. And Anthony Mason got a bulk of the time in replace of Xavier McDaniel.
Pat Riley has gone with the flow in a sense.
Yep.
And the flow has turned out quite well so far.
I mean, what was happening when those 2 players went out with their foul trouble was that the Knicks were mounting an extraordinary comeback, building a surge and outscoring Detroit 23-4 to take the lead. And Pat Riley just stayed with it. 38 seconds to go. Knicks by 3. Greg Anthony guarded by Darrell Walker. 13 on the 24. Starks with Dumars right in his chest. Ewing triple team. Wilkins is open. Anthony's got it. 5 on the 24. Ewing over Langbeer. That is another one of those big dramatic shots that have long been missing in Patrick Ewing's career. It's the second one this season that he has now. Patrick Ewing's high arcing jumper over the outstretched arms of Bill Laimbeer with 19.7 seconds to go have given the Knicks 5 points of breathing room. The timeouts are 1-and-1s across the board.
Knicks use every second of the 24. Stark patiently getting it into Ewing. Ewing giving it up. Gerald carrying the ball, making it tough for the defense to stay with the Knicks. The final touch from Ewing on a fadeaway.
And with just seconds remaining, Mark Jackson reemerges into the Knick game. A 20-second timeout has been called as Detroit was just about to set up their formation. The Knicks call a 22nd. They'll have 1 full timeout left should they need it. A 5-point lead with 19.7 to go.
Well, the Pistons will go home and face Houston tomorrow. A weakened Houston team. But the Knicks right now holding the Pistons to 4 shooting in the second half. The Pistons now at 45%. They were at 51 in the first half.
No surprise, John, that the Evian Natural Spring Water player of the game is Patrick Ewing, who in his biggest offensive game of the season shot 17 of 26, pulled down 10 rebounds, and did it all. When the Knicks had no one to shoot the ball well, he was it. Rodman looking across the floor, thrown away. Here comes the exclamation point. Oh, I thought Wilkins was going to lead Ewing.
No, he was watching Portland blow a game to Chicago last night at 1 in the morning, and he learned a lesson from that. You don't have to go to the basket when you have the lead and the closing seconds.
Well, Rodman was really in trouble. He was looking at the far side of the floor for someone to pop out from down low. It never happened. As Gerald Wilkins steps to the line now with 14.1 to go, let me tell you, we'll be here for full post-game court coverage. John Andres will be outside the Knick locker room talking to Pat Riley with his post-game press conference. Michael Kay will be scouring the locker rooms for tomorrow's quotes this afternoon. We'll have highlights. Walt Clyde Frazier will be along. We'll be on with you here from courtside until 4 o'clock. It is now 103-96 and 14.1 to go. A timeout on the floor. We'll be back for the last seconds of this one at the Garden in a moment. With 14.1 to go, Pistons this time get it in with little difficulty. Woolridge, get out of here, says Patrick Ewing. And what you might think would be a gimme, Patrick Ewing slams Orlando Woolridge. And that'll do it. The Knicks are perfect at home. They come from 18 down to beat the Detroit Pistons 103-96. They have now held 6 consecutive opponents under 100 points. They've won 5 in a row against the Pistons. They're 2-0 this season, and the Pistons are now 7-9. We will be back and begin our post-game report in just a moment. The New York Knicks beat Detroit 103-96.